Hello, my dear audiophile. How are you? I hope you're doing well and that you're having some hair-raising experiences listening to great music. This is Pedro Diaz. Welcome to Audiófilos y Locos in English. And I want to talk to you again about the Sibelius loudspeakers from Pearl Acoustics. I've had them for a while and I still haven't done the review, but that's because I keep trying them with different amplifiers. And I want to tell you how they're sounding with the amplifiers that I've tried them with. The first one is the Iota VX SA3 integrated amplifier. I'll also tell you about my amp camp, a Bass Labs design. It's a Class A amplifier that you can assemble yourself with a high degree of difficulty. But it's a great amplifier within its limits. I will also tell you how it sounds with my X825 and also with my 150.8 Bass Labs. Let's begin. The first thing I should tell you is that the Sibelius speakers from Pearl Acoustics are not like other full-range speakers that you might have seen within this genre, this kind of speaker. Lots of old-school audiophiles like this kind of speakers because there's kits and you can make your own, and they follow the concept of the single drivers from Lauter or Fostex. And it's just one driver that can reproduce every frequency. Different brands that I just mentioned. And other brands, like Voxatic, for example, which are very expensive. And it's just a configuration of a driver that should be able to coherently reproduce all the frequencies, theoretically speaking. Well, one of the advantages of these speakers is that they're usually very efficient, and you can use them with low power tubes, triodes, and that's generally the kind of marriage that they look for with these speakers. A very low power triode amplifier that sounds great, and it just makes magic with this kind of speakers. However, the Sibeliuses do not fall under this bracket because they're actually not that efficient. And they're about 87 decibels per watt. And that's been done on purpose by Harley Lovegrove from Pearl Acoustics, because he says if they're very efficient, they don't sound the same way. And one of the reasons why they're not as efficient is because they have more wire in the voice coil, more windings on the voice coil, and that adds resistance. But this way he can voice it, he can make the sound that he wants for his speakers. So they're not super efficient that you'll be able to use with 3 watts per channel or something. Although they will still work, but you see it's not such a bad thing. Beginning with the Iota VX SA3. It's a very modest amplifier at a really good price right now in England, especially with this whole devaluation economy going on. And I've said before that this amplifier actually can move the LRSs, the Magnepan LRSs, by itself without the additional amplifier. It's very powerful. It's Class AB, which I think it sort of sounds similar to a Rotel or Musical Fidelity or NAD. It's not Class D, and to me that's an advantage in my personal opinion. And this amplifier can drive the Sibelius very well. But the advantage of the Sibelius, because they don't have any crossovers, you're coupling the driver directly to the amplifier, and so you can hear the differences much more clearly between amplifiers because there's no crossover, there's no filters, nothing interrupting the sound. There are some people that don't believe in differences between amplifiers. They think that if they measure the same, they should sound the same. And I'm here to tell you that's not true. And if you were here, you could also hear the difference between all my amplifiers. Iota does really good with acoustic content with the Sibelius, but for EDM, electronic music, pop music, it may be a little bit warm and bloated with the Sibelius. You're not going to get as much definition as you get with the other amplifiers. However, depending on the music that you listen to, it will work very well. For jazz, for classical music, small ensembles and big ensembles. It's got the stability, it's got the power. It's just the tone. I'm talking about the tone. The tone, it's a little bit on the darker side, warmer side. If you're used to listening to headphones, you're not going to get all that information. It's not going to be as analytical if you're used to listening to a lot of information through your speakers. I'm talking about turntable and streaming. That's how I try them. With the amp camp, Sibelius work great. But we're talking about a very low power amplifier. I'm talking about 4 to 5 watts per channel. This amplifier will work better in a near field setup, on a desk, with small monitors. It will work ideally that way, because in this room, which is kind of a big room, to fill the room with sound, it's not that easy. And this room is a little bit dry. So it was an interesting experiment, but they do sound beautiful with this amplifier, the Sibelius. They sound pretty. Volume, what volume? Probably not the volume that a lot of people expect, but if you like to relax and listen to music from the back row of a theater, taking it easy without stepping on it too much, they would work for you. It's a very pleasant sound, pure, it's Class A, but you have to remember that you're going to be overdriving the amplifier a lot. Let's skip to the 150.8, probably because it's the most prodigious and it's the most stable, and I think it's the most transparent, crystalline, and the one with the best prat, rhythm and pace. It's very stable, lots of rhythm. It's superior to the other ones in terms of timing. But I feel like it may be too much for this speaker. Because these speakers, I think the limit should be about 75 watts, 75 to 80 watts. And they don't really play louder than 90 to 95 decibels. So you shouldn't be trashing them. And I'm worried about the excursion of the driver if you use way too much power. But I'll talk about it in the review eventually when I get there. What's really good about having all this power is that at low levels, you can hear every subtlety in the music, details. You're going to be able to hear the proverbial needle falling on the ground with very low power. Remember that you're coupling the driver directly to the amp. There's no intermediaries. So, precision, rhythm, and a very clear presentation are the best ways to describe this marriage. Now, when we talk about the XA25 and the Sibelius, we're talking about an idealized romance. This is probably the combination that I like the most, as well as with the Lintons. The XA25 creates this synergy that's very difficult to beat. The sound of the Sibelius with the XA25 is robust, it's heavy, it's got a lot of bass. In my opinion, it probably has more bass than the 150.8. At least I perceive it that way. It's a fatter sound, and it's an enveloping sound. It sounds more like the cliche, like tubes, more romantic, softer. It just doesn't bug you. It doesn't bother you. No fatigue. All I can say is I couldn't find anything wrong with this combination. To me, if I had to say one amplifier just special for the Sibelius, it would be the XA25. So, in my opinion, the first on the list is the XA25, followed by the 150.8, and then, depending on what your needs are, you could decide between the Amp or the Iota VX. I also tried it with the Rotel A11 Tribute, but I feel like the sound is a little bit grainy, like you're using high speed on the film in the camera. It's a little bit of a more grain in the sound. This is a smoother sound. If you want a nice integrated amp with lots of great features, I highly recommend the Iota VX SA3, especially for the price today. But if you have a very nice preamp already, and you don't listen to music at very demanding levels, the Bandcamp might be interesting. It is a beautiful sound, but you have to limit the repertoire to smaller groups and lighter playing. It's not for heavy music, heavy metal, or reggaeton, or anything like that. But the product is really excellent. In the future, I'll keep informing you about my amplifiers, but for now, that's my report on how the Sibelius sound with my transistor amps here at home. Thanks for watching this video, and subscribe